Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again. Happy Labor Day weekend, guys and gals. 2Ks, how you feeling, brother?
I'm good. Hey, normally on this night, it's like the wrap up before work. The next day, we get back to the grind of the week, and no work tomorrow.
No,
So,
it's awesome.
yeah,
It's awesome. And what's even better, 2Ks, was the football yesterday. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for, it seems like, all year, all season. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break down Michigan's schedule, give you our wins and losses, as well as Notre Dame's schedule. And we're going to get into kind of our top 12 or playoff predictions. And we'll even squeeze in a national champion here on September 1st. And then, 2Ks. It is September already. Can you believe it?
Yeah, this is it's what you wait all year around for. I mean,
Yes.
this is life is just better when football season is upon us.
Yes.
And it's good to get college back. You know, the first week with Florida State and Georgia Tech over in Ireland, kind of week 0,
Mhm.
kind of a teaser. So it
Yeah.
teases you. It's not enough football, and then
It's a dick tease.
yes, and then yesterday was just like, I mean, when I woke up at 8:30 in the morning, I'm like, holy shit, it's
Football.
here. It's
Yes.
football day.
Yes.
You know, and so it's just and now you got the high school football season kicking off. So high school teams in the area are playing on Friday nights. NFL is going to be starting Thursday night this week. So basically going to be football every single night.
Yes.
Just Tuesdays and Wednesdays you got to battle through, and then Thursday you start back on the grind again,
Yes.
and you roll that shit through Monday Night Football. And it's just life is just better now. I mean, this is the most exciting time of the year for me as far as sports goes.
Absolutely. And the weather's getting to be not a billion degrees out,
Yes.
which I particularly enjoy. I'm not
Absolutely.
built for 90 degrees.
Nope.
It's actually getting a little chilly out there right now. So I absolutely love that. And everyone, welcome to episode 221, 2Ks. Can you believe we've been doing this 221 episodes and we're going to keep it on rolling?
Yeah, no, hard to believe.
Yeah. And I was, I actually updated our podcast server. I found one that was a little less expensive and actually has more features. So I was like, what the hell not? Moved everything over.
Mhm.
And yeah, just going through and like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff in our catalog and I absolutely love it. And for those of you on TikTok, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? And speaking of TikTok 2Ks, we've got a pretty big fan on our hands.
Okay.
I want to give a big shout out to Mr. I believe it's Luke Weiler. So Luke, what up, brother? This dude has liked 90% of our videos, probably more. Commented on a lot of them, so I told him I would give him a big shout out because he deserves it.
Yeah,
He deserves it. Welcome to the 2K crew, Luke. And for those of you on YouTube, on Facebook, welcome. Let's get into this shit. To start off the weekend, 2Ks, let's talk about Nick Saban on game day. How awesome is that?
yeah. He's for years and years, I think you didn't. A lot of people, I mean, including myself, you just don't really care for him because all he does is win.
Yeah,
He wins.
all
He
the
wins.
time.
He wins. He's always there. He's always in the championship game. He's always in a BCS bowl game. The playoff started, and he was always in the 14 playoff. He always just found a way to get in there, and deservingly so. I mean, he's the best college football coach ever.
Yes.
I don't know if we'll ever have one as good as him that will hold it down and win as many championships and be there as many times as him. So deserves it. Now now all of a sudden you're seeing him as the human being,
Yes.
and not so much as the just straight and narrow coach. And I gotta admit, it's fun to watch. It's fun.
It is.
It's fun to listen to. He knows his shit. He is he is a football genius.
To say the least. And what I think is most captivating about that is he's sitting right next to Pat McAfee, and those two are two polar opposites personality wise. Pat is extremely outgoing and just in your face, and Saban's like the kind of quiet grandpa type. But the best thing is it works, and this is, in my opinion, is the best college game day crew that they've had. Unfortunately, Corso is a little.
Yeah.
He's not the coach that we're used to. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And it's kind of sad to see.
Oh, 100%. And it's sad to see. It's hard to watch, but he's that guy. He's the been there from the beginning, and kind of the main focal point of the show for years and years, you know, of him making that pick at the end. And so he's earned the right to be done when he's done. And I know it's getting to the point where it's hard to watch, but what I question with him is you can't take it away from him, because this is what I think, this is his pride and joy, this is his baby. So it's getting hard to watch though.
Probably the thing I remember most about him, aside from the selection at the end, is if you remember when we were all locked down, and he was doing it from his house and all the weird shit he'd have in the background. That was awesome. That was awesome. It just goes to show you how much of a personality he is. Just to kind of like, screw it. We're here. Let's have fun.
Hands down, my favorite Corso moment is you have to go back probably at least every bit of 10 years ago. And while making his pick, he was drawing up the other team, and then switched it to the other team, his pick. But he had left out an, fuck it.
Right.
right on TV. And it was like, Corso. I think you went over the top with that one, bud.
Well, it's like Saban yesterday saying, talking about the Ohio State and their quote unquote $20 million roster, and he goes, "You can pay $20 million, but if you don't pay the right guys, you're shit out of luck."
Yeah.
And again, it's awesome to see not only him but Belichick, what he's doing now that he's away from football. Well, away from football, but still not away. He's kind of doing his own thing, and just to see the personality come through, because especially him, he was zero personality on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. That's, a lot of times that's all you got. So, and again, seeing him on Pat McAfee show has kind of opened him up more. Yeah. And again, makes him feel more likable because he's an actual person, not someone that's just winning constantly.
And another point there, as far as I think you have to shout out Pat McAfee on this one, because I don't think you see Bill Belichick or Nick Saban on ESPN and doing these shows and having these. If it wasn't for Pat McAfee, he's the one that drew these two out and kind of, gave these two a platform to speak on. And for all of us fans for years and years, we just considered them like, they're football gurus, they're football geniuses, they're the best in the business at, one in the NFL and one in college football. But we never really got to see the personal side of them, and that we just thought they were all football, all business.
Machine,
and it's not, they're not like that at all. They are people just like us, and so it's really good to see, but I don't think it happens if it's not for Pat McAfee.
I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right. Well, let's talk about some scores. That's going to be our new segment for this week, 2K Crew. Just kind of go over some of the main games here and kind of give a little bit of reaction to each one. We're not going to deep dive into anything by any means, but we touched on the Ireland game last week, so we really don't need to kind of rehash that one. There really weren't a whole lot of we are watching the USC UCLA game while that's going on. But 2Ks, let's start right off at the top with Georgia. Georgia, a big win over Clemson. This was the lowest amount of points scored, tied for the lowest amount of points scored in the Dabo Swinney era. I think it's just, and another stat here, 2Ks. Georgia during the regular season is undefeated since 2020.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And this to me was the two, as far as the matchup goes. I thought, because I think Clemson's a pretty damn good team. I think Clemson's going to be competing for an ACC championship this year. But you look at the score and you see the gap of, I think Georgia is the team to beat in college football. People can say Ohio State, and some people will say, maybe Oregon, maybe some of the other teams out there. I think Georgia's that team that has the chip on their shoulder this year. I think Georgia's the team that has, almost like an NFL caliber defense where they just don't give up anything easy.
Which all of those Georgia defenders will end up in Philly. That seems to be
where they always end up going.
And if you want a good, breeding ground, perfect right there. And the one thing that kind of makes me say Georgia's still the number one and will remain the number one team in college football, there's fewer unknowns with them. Yes, the turnover, you're always going to get turnover in the draft. You always are. But it's the good coaches, the special coaches that just keep that pipeline fresh. I mean, we saw Saban do it for decades. I think we're seeing Kirby Smart do it with Georgia, and they have their established quarterback. It's not his first start. He's not a transfer. He's Carson Beck is a Heisman finalist already.
100%.
And to me, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look back just a couple years ago when Georgia wins their national championship and they mowed through and they have all those NFL caliber players that were drafted in, that the year prior or year after that, all those players that were drafted in the NFL. They had Stetson Bennett as their quarterback. No knock on Stetson Bennett. He was a solid, college quarterback. This Carson Beck kid is way better.
Yes.
Way better. This team, they can be something special this year. And, just kind of looking through what they're going to be playing this season, I don't see them losing a game.
No. But there will you hit the nail on the head, 2Ks. There's a lot of people that think Ohio State is the best team in the country. They mow over Akron 52-6. This was kind of a tale of two halves, 2Ks. I mean, with Akron, scored 3 points in the first, 3 points in the third, nothing the rest of the way. But 17 points in the first half for Ohio State, and then you could just see the athleticism come through. You see, just the bigger, better, faster athletes come through. They hang 35 in the second half, 52-6. Again, an Akron team that, this Ohio State team, if they lost to Akron, there's some major, major warnings.
Oh yeah.
And with this one too, with Beck as compared to this Howard kid, we know what Carson Beck is. This Howard kid, kind of unknown unless you're plugged into the Ohio State team directly. Their quarterback from last year transfers to, I believe, Syracuse, and so that was kind of what's the big where are they going for their quarterback here in 2024. The kid, I mean, he didn't play bad.
Mm-hmm.
He played good, but then again, kind of a warm-up game. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten schedule is going to see how good this kid is and how good this quote-unquote $20 million roster is going to be.
Yeah, Ohio State, they're going to have 2 or 3 more games here at the beginning of the season that are going to be scores just like this. They're going to blow teams away. Ohio State is fucking loaded.
Yeah,
they are loaded. They have, if you look at their team on just with all the guys that they've pulled out of the transfer portal, with all the guys that they have returning from last year, they remind you a lot of Michigan from last year. They have a lot of guys that decided to come back and make a run for this. But I've heard a lot of people saying that they have this really easy schedule compared to some of the other teams. I don't think that's the case. They have 3 or 4 more weeks. You're going to see them play Western, Marshall, and Michigan State in the next 3 weeks.
That Western team played very, very well.
Yeah, they did. But they're going to mow through those 3 teams. Yeah. But then I look at, they play Iowa. Iowa's not, offensively, they're not going to be able to put up any points on them, and I think Ohio State wins the game easy, but Iowa's defense is going to give them some fits. We're going to see what Ohio State's offense is made of in that day. And then they follow that up with Oregon, at Oregon. That's going to be a tough place for them to go play, because Oregon, even though they didn't look very good yesterday, they're going to figure things out offensively, and they're going to be a team that, we're going to see what Ohio State's defense is made of when they play Oregon. And then after that, they play Nebraska, who I think is going to be better this year with Dylan Raiola, the quarterback there. They have their quarterback of the future if they can keep him.
Yeah,
kid's been known for 4 different high schools in 4 years, and committed to Ohio State and committed to Georgia, and then ended up going to Nebraska at the end. So we'll see if they can keep him. But he is but the game I'm looking at on Ohio State's schedule is going to Happy Valley and playing Penn State the week after that, because that Penn State team looked legit yesterday against West Virginia.
Yes, they did.
And Happy Valley is a tough place to play.
Especially, I mean, because if you think about it, you said they're at Oregon the week prior, so you're basically traveling the whole entire country in the matter of a week.
Yep.
And I'm sure the time zone difference has to be talked about at least a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Happy Valley's never an awesome place to play for any visiting team.
Looking at that game here, it's for November 2nd, and the time says to be dated. So it's got to be a night game. If Penn State's smart, they're going to make this. This is going to be a whiteout. This is going to be a night game. Chances are, I think you're going to see 2 undefeated teams that night. So that's one of those games. Looking forward to. That's going to be a freaking good one.
Yeah, when people are saying Ohio State's schedule is weak, I think it's weak in comparison to Michigan's, but it's definitely not a cakewalk by any means.
Yeah, right.
And the next game here we'll touch on, Oregon hangs in, I guess you could say, against Idaho. This is, Dylan Gabriel came from Oklahoma last year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was a very good player at Oklahoma. I think this is you could see that the offense just hasn't clicked yet. When it does, I think you're going to see a very similar offense to what they ran last year. And so I'm not discounting what Oregon did yesterday. I'm just saying that this was a tune-up game for a reason, and they got it done.
Yep.
Was it a blowout like an Ohio State or some of the others, like Texas, like we'll get to here in a second? No. But then again, Texas has a returning quarterback, a stud quarterback, and Arch Manning threw his first passing touchdown, which we'll get to. But I'm not worried about this Oregon team at all right now.
No, and they have games here to kind of get that to right the ship. They got Boise State, Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State, teams that are just not very good. Where I think they're gonna right that ship before you get to the Ohio State game. But this Oregon team, I believe, in my opinion, kind of leading up to the season, they were the most overrated team.
Mm-hmm.
People were just writing them into the Final Four. People were saying they're a national championship team.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget, this is a team that got beat twice last year by Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Washington, even though they were very good, they were undefeated going into the national championship last year. They played in a very weak conference. And I think you kind of saw that gap in the national championship game of just how far Washington was behind behind Michigan.
Yeah.
And I thought, there was two teams in the playoff last year that were better than Washington last year. So I think there's just, there's a lot to be excited about with this Oregon team, but I don't know if they deserved all the praise that they were getting, leading into the season. Now, Dan Lanning as the head coach there, they're not going away. They're going to continue to get better and better. And, I think that this is a team that Dan Lanning, as long as he stays at Oregon, he's going to win national championships there.
100%. And we talked about Texas here briefly. They win 52-0 over Colorado State. This is the Texas team that we've come to know under Sark. This is not a shock to me at all.
No.
Was cool to see Manning get in and get some run, because as long as Ewers is healthy, he's your starter, which that's what they've said so far. And he, when you go for 260 and 3 touchdowns and a pick. So yeah, this Texas team pretty much as advertised, as well as Alabama over Western Kentucky. This was one that I think a lot of people had eyes on to be like, okay, what's this going to look like post Nick Saban?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of transfers out of there once Saban left. Plug in DeBoer as the coach. Doesn't look like they really skipped a beat. And with Milrose, your quarterback, again, that same narrative here. The returning quarterback, I think Alabama's primed. I think they're preseason ranked number 5. I have no qualms with that at all.
No, Look, I mean, I get it. Nick Saban was the man, and we praised him at the beginning of this show here today about how good he is. He's the best college football coach there is. Kalen DeBoer is no slouch. Like, this guy has done nothing but win everywhere he's been. Took a Washington team, was there for a couple years, takes them to the national championship, have an undefeated season last year. I get it. It's the Pac-12, but it's you're undefeated. Beat Oregon twice. That Oregon team, people were talking about them last year about being so good, and they beat them twice, and they beat the Texas team that we're talking about in the playoffs. So Kalen DeBoer is a winner. He's going to win there, and so Alabama is going to be just fine. He's still going to recruit, and I think offensively, as far as developing a quarterback, Kalen DeBoer will be better at that than what Nick Saban and his staff were able to do with quarterbacks over the years. So.
I agree. And Ole Miss lays one on Furman, and kind of a little shocker here. Ole Miss is a very, very good football team. Yeah. Lane Kiffin has these boys hitting on all cylinders. I love what he's doing down there, and I'll let the cat out of the bag right now. I've got Ole Miss as a dark horse to win it all. And he's got the squad to do it.
I love the Ole Miss team. You got Jackson Dart as your quarterback, who I think he's going to be a finalist for the Heisman this year. That's what I think of this kid. That's how good I think he is. This Ole Miss team is going to be damn good. They are going to be a tough beat. It's going to be hard for teams to beat them. The reason why I'm not sure if I can have them as a Final Four team or a potential national champion is Lane Kiffin. Yeah. Lane Kiffin he reminds me a lot of James Franklin there in Penn State. Can't win that big game. He can have scores like this, what we saw yesterday, where he can blow teams away. But when it comes to the big games where you got to beat a team like Alabama, or you got to beat a team like Georgia, he has not been able to do that in his time. Not saying that he can't. Yeah. And and not saying that I wouldn't like to see it, because I would love to see some new blood. As far as winning those games and kind of knock Kirby Smart off that pedestal that he's on right now. But Until he's able to do that, I just can't put a whole lot of, the schedule is going to be a gauntlet. You're in the SEC.
Always is.
It's an uphill battle, every single season. But where Ole Miss is at from the time that Kiffin takes the job there, he's done nothing but turn that program around and make them what they are today. To me, it's the same story as James Franklin at Penn State.
Yep.
You have to win one of those games, one of those big ones.
And this, like I said, he has the pieces in place for 100%. This to be the put up or shut up year. And I'm for one extremely excited. And like I said, do I think am I standing on a soapbox saying this is the best team in the country right now? No. But as a dark horse, this is a very popular pick if you want to, kind of get in when the odds are the best that you can get right now. Slide some coin on Ole Miss. You'll thank me later. One of the 7:30 games last night, Notre Dame at Texas A&M. The Irish come away with a 23-13 dub. My biggest takeaway on this one, 2Ks, is the defense for Notre Dame was as advertised. It seems like that side of the ball has not skipped a beat whatsoever. They had timely sacks, a couple of turnovers, if I do remember. It's just the main question in my mind, 2Ks, is Leonard worth the hype? And I was kind of on the fence about, him transferring and getting over, coming over. It seems like a lot of the same shit we did last year. And we had Sam Hartman. Now, Riley Leonard is a bigger, taller version of Sam Hartman, more mobile. And I think once they started to run the ball like they should, that's when you saw the Irish kind of take this game by the reins instead of putting it on the arm of Riley Leonard. You got to you got to get more quarterback design runs for him. We saw Jeremiah Love he had a touchdown and almost 100 yards. He's a kid that I think is a spark plug for that offense. I like where we're at right now. I just need to see more development of Leonard moving forward because, yes, A&M was a big game to start this season. Oh, yeah, very big game. And there's going to be some time for tune-ups, which I'm very thankful for. And with the schedule remaining, I think Notre Dame has a good shot to run the table. This was the one that all Irish fans were like, we need this one. This is our big game. And in the past, Notre Dame hasn't delivered.
On this game.
And this one had that feeling at halftime, like, oh shit, it's 6-6. Mm-hmm. All the videos I watched from camp, this offense looked way more explosive against our defense, which our defense was way better than Texas A&M's. And I think you said it perfectly last night. The defense on a lot of these games are far ahead of the offense so far.
100%.
And I honestly think you hit the nail on the head with that one, with this game. What were your thoughts on it?
The first thing I look at on Notre Dame's side is, yeah, everybody can keep saying, their schedule is weak, and it is. Mm-hmm. But this game last night, as far as for the first game of the season, this was everything for them. Yeah. Like this was, you have a transfer in Riley Leonard as your quarterback, and you're going into a very hostile environment, playing a night game, week 1 against Texas A&M, which we all know is a very tough place to go play. You're going down into SEC country. It's not an easy win. Mm-hmm. And Notre Dame, I thought at times, did it look ugly? Absolutely. Yeah. That's the first game. I thought there was, if you go down and watch all the football games yesterday, there was a lot of football games offensively that looked ugly. I mean, defenses are way ahead of right now. The thing for Notre Dame that with the them adding Riley Leonard into it, he gives them that he's that mobile quarterback that can make big plays. Notre Dame's defense is not going to give up very many points to anybody that they play. And Riley Leonard being on offense, they got the running game going in the second half,
which was huge.
Riley Leonard being a threat to run the ball makes it easier on the running backs. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't see Notre Dame losing a game this year. I think they walk into that 5 seed easy because I don't think they lose a game. Now, my only question with Notre Dame is when they get to the playoff and you have to play against these better teams, do they have the offensive playmakers to make big plays?
Exactly.
I don't think they have a true receiver that can make big plays. If you're going to beat teams like Georgia, if you're going to beat teams like Ohio State, you got to be able to make plays down the field.
100%.
And I don't know if Notre Dame has that, but what Notre Dame has working for them is they got about 10 fucking games to figure the shit out right now. And I think that they're going to do that. They have a very good coaching staff. They have the talent on the roster to do it. Their defense is going to keep them in every single game that they play in.
Mm-hmm.
So they have time now to right that ship and figure things out. And but you can go back to like last year where Sam Hartman, I thought, was a step up from what Notre Dame had for years at quarterback. Threw the ball really well. He wasn't a threat like Riley Leonard is though with his feet. Riley Leonard can make things out of nothing, and that is, you need that if you're going to get to the next level and win big games. So,
and especially with the inexperience of that offensive line as well.
Yes.
So I think you're 100% right. And a game that went final later than I think a lot of folks would have thought, because there was a huge rain delay. Penn State at West Virginia. You mentioned Penn State is like, they have 2 losses in the last 5 years, other than Michigan and Ohio State. And the biggest question mark with Penn State has always been quarterback.
Yeah.
It's always been quarterback.
Well, let me tell you, they got to figure it out here.
Yeah.
This Drew Aller kid is tough. Dark horse for potential Heisman. Last year, the arm talent was there. Everybody knew that he could throw the football when the kid was coming out of high school. Very highly touted recruit. But last year, if you look at his numbers, they look decent because he didn't turn the ball over. He took care of it, but he didn't take any chances. He didn't throw the ball downfield. Penn State's receivers last year were really, really bad also. They've made some accusations as far as with bringing in some kids out of the portal. Their receiving room has gotten a lot better, and this kid can fucking sling it. And Penn State, kind of another team like, you talk about Notre Dame having a lot of time now to figure out because their schedule allows it. Penn State's another team now. They have a lot of time to figure things out and get even better. Kind of looking forward to later in the season when they play against Ohio State and play some of the better teams. But really, you look at their schedule, about the only team I see on there that Penn State's really gonna have a hard time winning is the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
Other than that, you look at what the Big Ten schedule is and all the teams in it. They ducked all the good ones except for Ohio State. So Penn State, I think they walk into the 12-team playoff.
All right. And let's talk about your Michigan Wolverines. 2Ks, a big win, 30-10 over Fresno State. Again, from an outsider looking in, this is a game where defense did not miss a step from last year. It's, again, the offensive side of the ball. Going into this game, we didn't know who was going to be the starter.
No.
And now we saw both guys. So as a, huge Michigan fan, 2Ks, I'm going to let you take the floor. What is your takeaways from seeing your Michigan team first game?
Well, it wasn't pretty. It was another one that, you talk about offense being way behind the defense. I kind of knew going into it. I think anybody that follows Michigan football knew that the defense wasn't really going to be an issue.
Right.
They have a lot of guys returning. They got they got 2 guys that are potential first, top 10 first-round picks. I think it's safe to say they're both going to be first-round picks. But I think that there's the potential that they both go in the top 10, and they're loaded on defense. But offensively, I think the quarterback position is going to be an issue, and the turnaround as far as with the offensive line is their offensive line is not where it was or where it has been in the last 2-3 years. Now, one thing I will say about Michigan is over the years, and even last year and the year before, that offensive line would be a little bit shaky in the beginning, and then they figure it out.
Tighten it up.
They figure it out, and they get better, and Michigan starts playing their best football in the second half of the season. That's how it's been the last couple years. But when I look at their offense, to me it looks a lot like Notre Dame's. I don't know if Michigan has the talent on as far as the playmaking ability with receivers to be able to make big plays downfield. I don't think they have. They have a couple of receivers that are pretty good, but they're 5'8", 5'10", and they don't have that big go-to receiver, 6'1", 6'2" kid that can make plays down the field, and so they're lacking in that department. They do have Colson Loveland at tight end, arguably the best tight end in college football. Yes. So that's especially for a quarterback that's trying to ease his way into it and learn the system. Colson Loveland makes that easier. But look, they got Texas next week. The offense has got to be a lot better if they're gonna win that game. And like you said earlier, their schedule is tough. It's a gauntlet. They got to go through some big teams. But I look at Texas next week, and I can see if Michigan's defense can play really, really well, they can keep them in it and give them and if Michigan can control the ball and get that running game going a little bit better than what they were able to, last night against Fresno, And if they can control the ball and keep that game in the 20s, they'll have a chance. But it's gonna be a hard game to going to be a hard game for Michigan to win that. What Michigan has going for them though is their schedule is so good that if you lose a game to Texas early in week 2 of the season, you got plenty of time to right that ship, and it's all going to come down to what you do against Oregon, what you do against Ohio State later in the season, because their big games are Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, and you probably can throw USC in there. And if they win 2 of those, and as long as they don't slip up against any of the other opponents on there, if you win 2 of those 4, they're in. They're in the playoffs. So, but I got to be honest with you. From what I saw, just to kind of tie a bow on everything, from what I saw from their offense last night, they got a lot of things to figure out there.
And let's touch on one more game. I did want to. Tennessee looked amazing, 69-3 over Chattanooga. But the one I really want to dive into, kind of a surprise here, because you never know what you're going to get down in Florida. Miami goes into Florida with a big win, 41-17. This game was close for a little bit, and then Miami just took and ran with it. This Ward kid is legit. Miami's quarterback, just fantastic. And again, you never know what you're going to get when you go into the swamp. I know Tim Tebow wasn't playing in that game, but when you run him out on the field pregame, it seems like weird shit's going to happen. You know what I mean? And this really, Miami had control of this game from the kick. And these are 2 of the teams, 2Ks. I'm not a big fan of either one of them, but I think I hate Miami less than Florida.
I agree.
I was kind of happy in the result of that. What did you think of their quarterback Ward? I was extremely impressed.
Yeah, I think if you talk about all the new faces and new places as far as quarterbacks go, I think that this was the best quarterback that we saw move this offseason. And then didn't move into a conference like the SEC or the Big Ten. He moved into the ACC, which is very, very winnable.
Yeah.
And just from watching him and how they just, and I don't think Florida's the cream of the crop, top SEC squad, but they're a very good team.
Yeah.
And Miami had no problems at all moving the football, and Ward just looked like he'd been playing in Miami with those guys.
It looked like he was playing in slow motion. And it was like this is some sort of Matrix shit. Yeah. And you even saw it when he was like going out of bounds. Yeah. And just kind of saunters on like, oh, I'm so bored. Yeah. Like I'm this good that I'm bored. And I love that chip on his shoulder. I love it.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot kind of like Jaden Daniels from last year. Just kind of plays the game and makes it look easy, and just that good, that smooth. And I think after watching them and the way that they were able to move that football, and the defense looked good, I think that they probably are the favorite to win the ACC.
And thank goodness no turnover chain. One thing the last little bow I want to tie in the scores here, 2Ks, is the quarterback for Tennessee looked fantastic. Not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
No.
I've only heard it a couple times and I've already forgotten how they say it, so I'm not butchering it. But man, he looked fantastic.
Yeah, Lama Lieva or something is what
something like that.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people that have him as a dark horse to win the Heisman this year, and that offense is going to they are loaded. They are loaded. It's going to come down to if you're going to win the Heisman as a freshman and you're at Tennessee and you play in the SEC, you're going to have those Heisman moments, and you're going to have those Heisman moments when you play against teams like Alabama and Georgia, and they got both of them on their schedule. Yep. So it's going to be exciting to see. But I've heard people say that they think that he's the best true quarterback in college football this year. So
we're going to give our Heisman picks here at the end of the show, 2K. So don't give away too much. Well, let's jump into the Michigan schedule moving forward here, 2Ks. Let's move our ticker down and let's take a peek. We already talked about the Fresno State game. Not a big shocker there with a dub. Texas. I mean, I'm assuming College Game Day is going to be at Texas. I don't see why they wouldn't. And if you didn't, we did a whole show about that where we predict which I should probably go back and see which ones we picked just to make sure, just to see how many we got right. But I don't even know what. Do you have the spread on this one, 2Ks?
That's
Handy?
6.5.
Texas?
Yep. Which I'm
shocked it's that
kind
low.
of shocked because honestly, I think you heard me say it last night when we were watching the game. It wouldn't shock me if it was that. And this is before anything came out today. I said last night just by watching Michigan and how they struggled to move the football against Fresno State, and this Texas defense is going to be a lot better than Fresno State's defense. And I said it wouldn't shock me if this game is at closer to 10 and a half.
In my mind I had it 10 and a half. So if you're getting it at 6.5,
yeah, I mean, as much as it pains me to say, at this point right now in the season, I think if at 6.5, I got to take Texas on that one.
Yes. Yep. I'm right there with you, and I believe Texas wins this game. I do. And you hit the nail on the head. It's how what can the and maybe they did it on purpose, and maybe they Orgy is going to be the quarterback moving forward. They just didn't want to show Texas too much. I get that. I
think Orgy can do a lot of things, he can do things that a lot of quarterbacks in college football can't do as far as with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
I think Orgy's so far behind as far as throwing the ball that, and Michigan's they don't show a whole lot, and they seemed, kind of Harbaugh used to, he would never cover, spreads and all that. Like they didn't show much. And so I'm trying to have that, like maybe they didn't want to show a whole lot. But to be perfectly honest with you, I think Michigan is very, very good defensively. I think Michigan offensive line is going to get to a point where they're really, really good, and they're going to be able to run the football, especially as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But this battle of not that they're going to go through this season of not having a JJ McCarthy to lean on and be able to throw the football, I got to be honest with you, it scared me last night watching it. Yeah. So. Especially, and I guess what scares me is normally for Michigan, you get 3 or 4 tune-up games at the beginning of the year where you can get that shit figured out, and then you roll into an opponent like Texas when you've already played 4 or 5 games. They're rolling into this shit now, and game 2, offense looked very, very shaky last night, and I think it's going to be. I'm not saying that they can't do it because, like I said, Michigan's defense is going to keep them in a lot of ball games, but in my opinion, you have to, and if I don't care who you are, you have to be able to score, over 20, 24, maybe 28 points if you're going to beat Texas, just because they're going to put points up on, regardless of who the defense is playing.
Yep. So, I mean, like I said, I'm taking Texas on this one. I think we both agree Arkansas State's a dub.
Yeah.
USC.
We're learning about USC. I mean, tonight with the game against LSU.
I believe it's tied 7-7.
Yeah,
or it was
with USC. USC's on the goal line now, or inside the goal. But yeah, Arkansas State will be a good tune-up for them, and USC we're learning about them. But Lincoln Riley, that offense on USC is going to be very, very good.
It's the defense.
It's the defense that can they stop?
And so far against LSU, it looks like a completely different defense than last year.
And I mean, you have to. I think we would be in total agreement. Like, even though the turnover that LSU had as far as with their offense, obviously losing Jaden Daniels, losing 2 NFL caliber receivers, like there's not just 2 NFL caliber receivers, 2 really, really good NFL caliber receivers.
First round draft picks. Yeah.
LSU's offense is always going to be good under Brian Kelly. That's just a Brian Kelly team.
His family.
Brian Kelly's never going to roll a team out there that he's the head coach of that doesn't have a good offense. So. USC is going to be a problem. They're not going to be a team that an easy win.
Give me Michigan on that one.
Yeah, I lean towards Michigan also. I guess one of the big deals for me in that game is it's in Ann Arbor. USC has to go to Michigan to play that game, and then Michigan's defense is just that. I think there's going to be an adjustment period with these teams moving over from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten as far as the physicality of teams in the Big Ten.
And the atmospheres. And then the next game is Minnesota. I think they beat the shit out of PJ Fleck.
Yeah, PJ Fleck might be. He's on that seat's getting hot.
Oh yeah,
that seat's getting hot.
And there's no Big Ten West to save his ass.
Right.
So
right.
And yeah, to me that's easy win. Then they go to their first away game. Travel to Washington. I almost said Wisconsin. to Washington. What are your thoughts here, 2Ks?
Washington lost a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. They lose a lot of players. Not only players, they lose their head coach and Kalen DeBoer. Hired Jed Fish there
I
as
think
the head
so.
coach there. Jed Fish coming off of his time in Arizona, where he turned that program around and had them playing pretty good football. Washington's going to be a team that they're not going to be a team that just lays down. They're going to be a hard win. That game going to Washington for Michigan. Michigan has never been a West Coast team that goes out there and plays well. So honestly, I mean that game scares me a little bit. I think Washington will have a really hard time putting points on the board against Michigan's defense and scoring, but Michigan's got to figure some shit out here in the next few weeks offensively. I mean, and so I think that game's close, but I think Michigan gets that one.
I agree. And then they go to Illinois. I think that's an easy win.
Yeah, I mean Illinois, they're one of them teams that it seems like they play. They play up to opponents sometimes, though they're not just a team that lays over. But I think Michigan wins that one.
Just because Lovie Smith's beard is not there anymore. I mean that his beard led that program for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You lose that. I don't even know who the coach of Illinois is.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much I know about Illinois. But yeah, give me Michigan easy with that one. Then they welcome in Sparty, little brother, and again, I think Michigan continues the dominance over Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State's just their offense is bad offense. Don't have nothing, no playmakers to write home about. Defense, I thought was pretty good.
It looks
hard. It's hard to get a really good gauge on them just because of the opponent that they were playing. All we've seen them play is Florida Atlantic. But there was some good things I saw as far as on the defensive side of the ball from Michigan State. It seems like Michigan State always puts a pretty solid defense out there. It's just been, and then with the addition of the Chili's, is that his last name? The Chili's, the quarterback now that they got from, he fouled Smith from Oregon State over to Michigan State here, so it gives them something that Michigan State really hasn't had since you got to go back to like Kirk Cousins and Connor Cook.
Yeah.
I mean those are the two quarterbacks that when Michigan State was making runs and competing to win the Big Ten, that they had those two quarterbacks. And they haven't had that since.
No.
And
they even had a Lombardi, and he sucked.
Yeah, he was not the answer. So I think, I think Michigan wins that one easy.
All right, it's a right before big game. Oregon comes into town, 2Ks. This is one of the games that we highlighted when we were doing our preseason kind of picks here. And if I'm picking today, I've got to pick Oregon on that one.
Yeah, it's hard not to do it. I guess for me, what I'm going with, and I'm gonna ride this fucking narrative the rest of the way out now. I mean, after watching it last night, is Michigan's got to figure things out, and I think that they're going to be that team that improves as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Look, JJ McCarthy gone, Blake Corum gone, that entire offensive line gone. Like their defense is all back. For the most part, I mean, you lose. There's a couple guys that they're replacing, but that wasn't really the issue. But they're replacing so much on the offensive side of the ball and they played that was the first actual game that they played together was last night. So they're going to get better as the season goes on. To me, Oregon coming to Ann Arbor, Michigan rights the ship from where they're at right now to November, and Oregon having to go into Ann Arbor and play that game, to me, Michigan is so much more physical than, and if they can get it figured out with the offensive line and get that run game going like they had last year, which I still think that they're going to do it. I think Michigan wins that game.
And then they go to Indiana, kind of a revamped Indiana squad, if I'm not mistaken. To me, this is an easy dub for Michigan. Even looking ahead at the next week, Northwestern, they're terrible. I think easy. Yeah. Both these games are easy, kind of, if you want to use them as tune-up games, I guess you could call. But then again, it is the Big Ten. You kind of never know. But these next 2Ks, easy wins for your Michigan team.
Yep, I agree.
And then all culminates against Ohio State. This one's in Columbus this year. Does the dominance against Ohio State continue this year, 2Ks?
my heart wants to tell you that they beat Ohio State. My brain says that Ohio State beats them this game.
I agree.
Michigan, they're offensively, they're not there. Defensively, I think that they are one of the top defenses in the nation. Offensively, I think they're going to improve and get better. And I think that, like I said earlier, I think they can beat, an Oregon. I think they can beat Oregon with as long as their offense improves throughout the season. I don't think they can beat this Ohio State team. Ohio State they are loaded on both sides of the ball. That defense is so damn good. And, as much as it pains me to say, because I never want to pick Ohio State over Michigan, but if I'm going just with my brain here and just looking ahead and just looking at the two teams, I can't say that I personally truly believe that Michigan. If I'm saying that Michigan if I was to say after watching last night and seeing what Ohio State did in the offseason as far as all those players coming back, there's no way I would be talking out of my ass if I said I thought Michigan was going to beat Ohio State right now.
I agree, and like I said, but there might be something to it to where they weren't showing their whole hand. We don't know yet.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
this Texas game is going to be kind of a good litmus test for both teams.
It is, and I worry a little bit. I worry a lot with Texas just because it is next week. It's early in the season, and I keep saying it. I think Michigan's going to get better as the season goes on. So that's what worries me about Texas, and why I said earlier that I'd probably take Texas, winning and with that definitely with the -6.5.
Yeah.
But Texas and Ohio State are teams that can potentially win a national championship. That's how good those two squads are right now. I don't, in my personal opinion, Michigan's not at that level right now.
Nope, I 100% agree, but we're going to find out a lot on Saturday. Let's jump over to the Notre Dame schedule. This one will probably take a little less time here. Got the big dub against Texas A&M Saturday. Home opener against Northern Illinois. I think that one's a lock for the Irish.
Yes.
Purdue, same thing. Purdue hasn't had a good squad since like Drew Brees and Kyle Orton. So again, I think that'll be an easy one, as well as the following one, Miami of Ohio. But then again, those sneaky MAC teams, you can never count them out. But this game might be closer than what the spread says, just because of that. But it is at Notre Dame Stadium. I think that's a big win there. The 28th at Notre Dame Stadium, Louisville. I think again that's a win.
I think it's a win too. That's the game where obviously you go back and you remember what happened last year in that game.
Yes.
I think Notre Dame plays this one with a chip on their shoulder. This one's in South Bend.
Yep. And
it's a different story. I think Notre Dame takes care of business against them.
The only thing that worries me is on this, we're on the fightingirish.com and their schedule. They say Irish wear green. Anytime Notre Dame wears green, they play like shit. So that has me kind of worried. And normally when they wear the green jerseys, the last names, I believe, are usually on the back. Don't like that. They usually don't play well with their names on their jerseys. Yes, I know it's superstition, but it's backed by something. Please go ahead and check it out. But after that, they welcome Stanford. I think that's a big win. Followed by Georgia Tech, which we saw big win in Dublin. But it was either Georgia Tech or Florida State kind of stumbled this weekend. But again, this one's in Atlanta. But I see the Irish winning that.
The Georgia Tech one, I think that one deserves a little bit of time. I don't know if I can just... Georgia Tech impressed me against Florida State.
Impressed the hell out of me too.
Do I think Notre Dame wins this game? I do. I think Notre Dame wins it. But then again, having to go play in Atlanta, that's a home game for Georgia Tech, basically. So, look, this Georgia Tech team, I think, is for real. I don't think they're just a pushover.
No.
And that one, I think, has the potential. They're a team that has the potential to knock them down. Just because I really was impressed with them against Florida State. Their defense, Georgia Tech's, they moved the football last year. Yeah. I mean, they put points on the board last year against teams. Their problem was they couldn't stop anybody. Well,
they stopped Florida State.
So that defense has gotten a lot better. You got a new defensive coordinator there. They can score points, and so that's going to be one of those teams that can challenge Notre Dame's defense. And Notre Dame's defense is really, really good. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. But if Georgia Tech's defense has improved and they can slow Notre Dame down, to me, I think that game is you pound the under. I think it's going to be very low scoring. I think it's going to be similar to what it was last night. It was that game last night was a hard game for Notre Dame. They had to battle it out. Texas A&M's playing at home. They had to battle that game out, and then in the end, the better team prevailed. The better team won.
Right.
I think Notre Dame is the better team against Georgia Tech, but that game's going to be close. If I'm a Notre Dame fan and I'm looking at this schedule, that's the one that I circle and say, that one scares me a little bit.
Oh, yeah. And then Navy, which Navy really hasn't had a good team in quite a while. I definitely taking Notre Dame on that one, even though it is in New Jersey. At MetLife Stadium, followed by Florida State coming into town. Again, this one I kind of have circled too. Even before the doubling game, you would think that DJ is going to make some adjustments after that game. Plenty of time from then till now. We'll kind of see how this Florida State team shakes out. But again, I got Notre Dame winning that one.
Florida State's the team. Florida State reminds me a lot of Michigan. They lost a lot.
Yes.
There is a lot that needed to be replaced. And they replaced a lot of them with very, very highly touted, transfer portal players. And I think they ran into Georgia Tech, their offense is legit. And if the question was going into the Ireland game, it was, can Georgia Tech stop them?
Yep.
And everybody said, no, they can't. And going by what Georgia Tech did last year, that was the case. And well, when the game started and it played, right off the bat, Florida State goes down the field and scores. Georgia Tech answers. And then from that point on, Georgia Tech's defense figured it out.
Yeah, that defensive line was singing.
Florida State, though, they get kicked in the teeth in the first game of the year. I think they kind of get embarrassed. It's a big game. Everybody's right, kind of thinking that they're a potential, ACC champion. They are a playoff team. That was the narrative about them going into the season. They get kicked in the teeth. They get embarrassed. This team's going to get better as the year goes on. They're going to be a better football team on November 9th than what they are right now. And that was my case with Michigan, as they get better as the season goes on. Night game, Notre Dame. I think it's another one, probably going to be a lower scoring game, not a lot of points. I think that's going to be kind of the case with Notre Dame a lot this year. Their defense is going to keep things, low scoring games a lot. But I have to go with Notre Dame on this one because it's in South Bend.
And we got a comment here, 2Ks, the Back It Up Binge podcast. Hello, gents. Well, hello. Welcome back. After Florida State, Virginia, I think that's an easy one. Followed by Army again, which is the Shamrock Series game. I don't foresee any problems there. And just the last game of the year, usually as always, Southern Cal, USC.
Yeah, I'm going USC here.
Oh, you picking the
going USC here.
Okay.
This is one of them ones where if they're playing in South Bend, I probably go Notre Dame. Notre Dame's defense is going to be really, really good. That's their meal ticket. That's what's going to get them. Notre Dame's a playoff team, regardless of what happens. I think they're undefeated going into this game.
Yes.
USC is going to be that offense that can really test their defense, because as good as that defense is, Notre Dame doesn't want to see the teams that can sling it all over the place. Notre Dame matches up good with a lot of teams that you're not going to run the ball all over them. You're not going to play bully football against Notre Dame's defense.
No.
But I think if you can spread them out, and you have a quarterback, which USC has, and you have receivers that they have, I think that they can play that style where I think Notre Dame wins a lot of games because they hold teams under 21, 24 points, and they win those games. I think USC is going to push them for closer to 30 points, and I don't know if Notre Dame's offense can score 30 points. Now, that's why I go USC here.
To kind of counter your point with the spread amount, Notre Dame has two of the top 5 or top 10 corners going right now. So as far as slinging it all around, that doesn't bother me. And essentially the same defense, granted, beat the shit out of Caleb Williams last year. I think that gives them the motivation to be like, all right, well, this team doesn't have Caleb. Caleb was the number 1 overall pick. And it's going to depend on, and we're seeing it right now kind of unfold here. It's 10-10 against LSU. To me, it's going to come down to the USC defense. What is it going to look like? How because it can't be as bad as last year.
No,
it just can't.
And that's the thing. I think USC's defense is going to be much better than what it was last year. It can't get worse. It can't be worse than it. So they're much better. Caleb Williams fell into that. Caleb Williams was the best college football player that we've seen in years.
Yes,
and he still was last year. The problem was their defense couldn't stop anybody. So Caleb Williams had this. He had the feeling like I have to
score 50.
I have to score 50. I have to make these miraculous plays in order to give our team a chance to win. And he played way out of where what he needed to do. So to me, their defense is going to be better. They're going and it's going to be a more of a more of a balanced team where you're not so much. It's not going to be all pass heavy. It's not going to be like you're playing from behind. It's not going to be that you have to score every single drive that you have the football. Because last year for Caleb Williams was, I have to score every single time we get the ball.
Yes.
Because our defense is not going to stop anybody. They're going to be better there. My biggest thing is why I pick USC here over Notre Dame is it's at the Coliseum. Notre Dame has to pack up. They have to go over there and play. Now, they're one thing that Notre Dame has going for them is this happens every other year. It's not like this is a starstruck situation where they don't roll into that.
Yeah, they have a routine down.
They have that part of it down. But and the other thing that I think Notre Dame has working against them in this is they don't play the caliber of teams. So that's where I think that plays an issue. Like, yeah, it's great, and your record's gonna be good, and Notre Dame with one loss is gonna walk into the playoff every single year. They're never gonna be left out with one loss on their schedule. But when you play that schedule all season long, you're not challenged as much, and then when you do get into that, that's why. Although I think Notre Dame is a playoff team this year with 12, I don't think Notre Dame really does anything in them because I think they're overmatched by a lot of other teams in college football.
Yeah, if you put this Notre Dame team, right now up against a Georgia and Ohio State, they're not winning those games.
No, I mean if they played Georgia, it's probably going to look a lot like Georgia and Clemson score.
Yeah. Well, 2Ks. Let's do our playoff picks here. All right. Now, again, I found part of this kind of difficult here. Just not it wasn't in the fact that just picking 12 teams. It's like, all right, who's going to be that fifth? Because the top four, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC champions, and then there's the floater. Who's going to be the best of the rest? Who's going to win that conference championship in one of the other conferences? And to me, that was the hardest part of this. But I'll give you my 12, and then we'll go to yours, and then we'll kind of give our national champion as well as our Heisman. Number 1, I've got Georgia. Number 2, I've got Ohio State. Number 3, I'm taking Miami. And number 4, from the Big 12, I'm taking Utah. And the Big 12 is weird. I mean, because obviously we don't have the Texas and the Oklahomas there anymore. So that one, I mean, I dig what Utah does. Not
Cam Rising back.
Yeah.
And that's if he can stay healthy. He's a kid that I don't think is talked about enough.
No. Well, he plays in fucking Utah. But yeah, I've got Notre Dame at number 5. And regardless of who gets 5, 6, and 7, and 8, right? The next 4, those are home games for those teams. And I think that is the coolest part about this whole thing. I could care less if there's, the number of teams. I don't care. I could care less about. But the fact that you get a home game, how cool is that? Unprecedented to have a playoff game in college football at your home stadium. To me, if you're playing right now, that's what you want. Am I wrong? Could you imagine Michigan taking that number 5 spot or even the number 6 spot and having a home game at the Big House for a playoff game? Ann Arbor would be electric. South Bend would be electric. After Notre Dame, I've got Ole Miss. We've already talked about them and how good they looked. I've got Tennessee 2Ks. It's 7. I got Oklahoma 8. I've got Texas at 9. Bama 10. I've got your Wolverines 11. In that last conference champion spot, I've got Memphis at 12. And just goes to show you, because, you know, the top four, and I have a feeling with those top four, you could put them in any order, really doesn't matter. It's like I said, the tricky part to this for me was that fifth conference, which conference champion is going to be ranked highest to get that fifth automatic bid, and Memphis was the best I could come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So out of this, I still got to ride Georgia. For a national champion. And Heisman is I'm taking the kid from Tennessee. I was blown away.
Mm-hmm.
How is it to me? It's either going to be him or the kid from Miami. Love both of them. So those are. But I think Tennessee, just because I don't know, he jumped off the page more than anyone else on the slate yesterday or this weekend. So who are your top 12 2Ks?
Number 1, Georgia. I think Georgia wins SEC. Number 2, Ohio State. Ohio State wins the Big Ten. Number 3, I think same as you, Miami. I think Miami wins ACC. Number 4, I think Utah wins Big 12. So I think we're the same on those ones.
Yep. So far we're chalk.
Number 5, I'm going to put Texas.
Okay.
I think Texas is a legit team to win it all. That's you talk about all the quarterbacks moving, and a lot of the really good quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers is the kid that I think people don't talk about him enough.
No.
Look, Arch Manning is the backup there. There was name a kid coming out of high school that was more highly touted than Arch Manning, and he's played behind Quinn Ewers, and Quinn Ewers hasn't lost that spot. So I don't think he gets talked about enough. So I got Texas there. I'm gonna go Oregon at 7. No, I'm actually going to switch that. I'm going to go Penn State at 7.
Ooh,
Penn State at 7, and why I put that as Penn State's schedule is it plays right into putting them at that 7th spot. I really think the only challenge they have, the true test that they have, is that Ohio State game. I don't think they can beat Ohio State, but if they roll in with one loss in the Big Ten, they're going to be right there in that spot. So I have Penn State at 7. I think Notre Dame falls in at 8. I picked Notre Dame to lose one game to USC. Look, if Notre Dame runs the table and goes undefeated, they're gonna be 5.
Yeah,
I'm picking them. I can't pick them as my 5 team right now. And after I just got done saying they're gonna lose to USC, so Notre Dame there. 9. I'm gonna go Alabama. I have a lot of Alabama. Look, I understand that Saban's not there anymore, but Kalen DeBoer is damn good.
Legit.
He's damn good, and there's no lack of talent on this Alabama roster.
No.
So and with Milroe as your quarterback, like I said earlier, Kalen DeBoer I think is better at working with quarterbacks than what Saban or his staff ever was. So I think you're going to get an even better season out of Milroe this year. And so then I go down to 10. That's where I'm going to have Oregon at. Oregon gets in, be the 3rd team in the Big Ten to get into it. 11. I'm gonna go. This one's tough. This one's tough. I like Tennessee a lot, but I like Ole Miss a lot. It's gonna be. I have an SEC team that's gonna be here because I think SEC is gonna get 3 in there also. Or no, SEC would be 4, or SEC is going to get 4 teams in there. I'm on the fence between Tennessee and Ole Miss, and I'm going to go Tennessee here because I just, like I said earlier, I don't know if Kiffin has it in him to win the big ones, and I don't think that he beats Alabama this year, and I don't think that he beats Georgia this year. So I'm gonna go with Tennessee. The Lieva or however you say his name looked awesome.
Yes.
I think there's a lot to like about this Tennessee team, so I think that they get in at 11, and then 12. I'm going Boise State.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. And national champion?
National championship, Georgia. I can't go against Georgia. Georgia. I mean, you said it. They don't lose in the regular season.
No.
And
when they do lose, it's in the playoffs.
Yeah,
against Nick Saban.
Their nemesis has been Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not there anymore.
Nope.
There is not a team in college football that has more of a chip on their shoulder than Georgia. You can make that case with Ohio State also. Ohio State has that chip, obviously. Ohio State. This isn't just the season of win the Big Ten for Ohio State or the season where they have to beat Michigan. This is the season for Ryan Day that, look, man, we basically let you do whatever you wanted this offseason and bring in whoever you wanted, players, coaches. I mean, they bought a fucking NFL caliber coach or, turn the Oregon program into what it is today and Chip Kelly. And they brought Chip Kelly in there just to be the offensive coordinator. Ohio State has basically done everything in their power to give them, there's no excuse.
No.
There is no excuse. But I have to go Georgia over Ohio State. I think it's Georgia and Ohio State in the national championship.
Okay.
But I think Georgia wins that one. Just because I think when you start talking about the talent is about a wash. Both of those teams are, to me, in my opinion, those are the two most talented teams in college football. When it comes down to it, I think you have Kirby Smart as maybe the best head coach in college football now that Saban's gone. And you have Ryan Day, who is
middle of the pack.
Born on third and thinks he hit a triple. So that's where I think that, I got to go Georgia with that. As far as the Heisman Trophy winner, maybe not the most popular pick, but I'm on the fence on this one too. I think I'm going with this one because I think their offense is going to get nothing but better as the season goes on. We saw it in the second half. They were a little bit shaky against Clemson in the first half of the game, but in the second half they started to figure some things out. I think Georgia runs the table, goes undefeated, and I think Carson Beck is going to put up big passing yards this year for Georgia. And they are loaded.
He is the favorite to win right now, right?
I think so, but after watching, the thing that's scary with me is like the guy that wins the Heisman most times is the one that is electric, and Cameron Ward is electric. Lama Lieva from Tennessee is electric. And Carson Beck, I'm not saying that he's not that electric guy that's going to make a lot of plays with his feet, but he reminds me a lot of like a Joe Burrow caliber quarterback. Can make the throws, can make plays with his feet better than Burrow ever could. But I just when you surround yourself with so many weapons like that Georgia team has, and when you go undefeated in the SEC and you're the quarterback of that team, you're obviously going to have a seat there as a finalist. And I think
McCarron.
I think they run the table, and I'm going Carson Beck as the Heisman Trophy winner.
I love it. 2K crew, we gave you a little bit extra this week, but that's okay because this is the best time of the year. 2Ks.
Yeah,
it's the best time of the year. Next week we're going to be doing our way too early NFL show. So same football, just a different brand. We're probably going to break down you'll get our division winners, as well as our wild cards, playoff stuff. Obviously our way too early postseason awards. We'll give you our Super Bowl picks. All of that coming next week. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and for us being a podcast in Southwest Michigan, majority of people listening to us a lot are Lions fans, and while we'll be doing that, the Lions will be playing their home opener in the Sunday night game against the Rams. Awesome to see the Lions get a fucking primetime game also. Deservingly so.
That's not Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. Not a Thanksgiving game at noon. Yeah. This is a primetime game. Matthew Stafford and the Rams.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
So, but 2Ks, the 2K crew is going to have to tune in next week to see if we pick. Is Chicago going to win that? Is Green Bay going to win it? Is the Lions grip on the NFC North? Is it going to remain? You'll have to tune in next week.
Yeah,
you'll have to tune in next week because We're not giving you shit right now.
Nope.
We just gave you an hour and 20 minutes of college football talk. So expect the same kind of energy, the same type of analysis, if you will, for the NFL season getting underway. In 2Ks, is there anything else we need to wrap up here? Your thoughts, besides being super fucking excited, it's finally here.
Yeah, it's finally here. I mean, that's this. It's so much fun to talk football. It's so much fun to listen to people talk about football. It's so much fun to watch football. I mean, it's so much fun to bet on football.
Yes. Except for me this week, did not.
Yeah.
Did not
Well,
work.
you know, I've always been pretty good with betting on football. I found out this summer I am really not good at betting on baseball. So, I actually had to shut down the old FanDuel account for a while. But that bitch is back in action now.
Cha-ching. Well, 2K crew will get you out of here on that. Everyone enjoy tomorrow, since most everyone doesn't have to work. Be safe tonight and your bonfires, whatever you're doing. And we will see you next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.